Is the motion seconded?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Seconded by the Honorable Member for Kafue. The question is that this House urges the government to provide adequate sanitation and sanitary towels to all girls in public schools. Any debate? The Honorable Member for Chembe.
Mr. Speaker, allow me to express my profound gratitude and appreciation to you for giving me this opportunity to move this private member's motion urging the government to provide free sanitary towels to girls in public schools. Sir, let me point out from the outset that this motion borders on girl-child empowerment and is aimed at closing the gender gap in education attainment that arises from lack of access to basic sanitary products and appropriate conditions by a girl child. Especially so, Mr. Speaker, in rural and poor areas of our country. In this regard, I wish to request all honorable members to support this non-controversial motion aimed at educating our nation through the education of our young women who are the future mothers of Zambia. Mr. Speaker, let me remind the honorable members of this august House that the genesis of this motion is my maiden speech on the floor of this House on 1st November 2016, soon after the people of Chembe gave me the mandate to represent them in this House and to speak not only for them, but for all the citizens of our land that need to improve the welfare of themselves and their children through various government initiatives. I, Mr. Speaker, having observed the high girl-child school dropout rate in Chembe and in other rural areas, I called on this House to introduce distribution of free sanitary pads to schoolgirls in rural and poor areas of our country, simply because, from my observation, this was clearly one of the major causes of the problem. I argued then, Mr. Speaker, and do so now, that if we could distribute free condoms, which are a matter of choice, what more the sanitary pads where there is no choice. Mr. Speaker, you will agree with me that education is a fundamental human right that everyone must be given an opportunity to enjoy, at the very least up to elementary level. As you are aware, education has the potential to transform lives of individuals, families, and societies at large. Further, education helps people acquire knowledge and skills to enable them get employed and start private business, earn an income, and improve their living standards. In other words, education improves the quality of human resources that are required for the socio-economic development of any nation. It is an effective means for ending the poverty vicious cycle, reducing inequality, and enhancing the well-being of an entire society. The link between education and sustainable national development is therefore undeniable and has been clearly demonstrated by the Southeastern Asian countries, commonly known as the Asian Tigers, where the World Bank found a positive correlation between public investment in education and levels and rate of development. It is for this reason, sir, that governments are investing a lot of resources in ensuring effective protection of the right to education. Mr. Speaker, I wish to acknowledge the achievements that our government has scored over the years in promoting access to education. This has been through the enhancement of school infrastructure and the implementation of policies such as free primary education, national policy on education, re-entry policy, and the training policy. The Education Statistical Bulletin, Mr. Speaker, shows that in the period 2013 to 2017,
Honorable Member, just give me a minute. There are too many conversations going on. Continue.
The Education Statistical Bulletin shows that between 2013 and 2017, there was an increase in grade 9 completion rates from 61.5% in 2013 to 71.7% in 2017. Grade 12 completion rates also marginally increased from 31% to 31.8% over the same period. In terms of school dropout rates at primary level, there was a reduction from 1.8% to 1.5%. As a result of these efforts, Mr. Speaker, the United Nations Children's International Emergency Fund, UNICEF, reported Zambia to have achieved near universal primary school completion levels. Notwithstanding these achievements, gender disparities in education attainment are still prevalent. Sadly so, honorable members. Overall, girls continue to be at a disadvantage, with a considerable number of them dropping out of school at primary or secondary levels. In terms of transition to higher school, girls have a relatively poor record due to many reasons, including lack of sanitary facilities. Sir, allow me to highlight some of the pertinent issues relating to this challenge. It is a fact, and we are all aware, that a good number of our girls, especially in rural areas, cannot afford and do not have access to safe sanitary products. This has prevented them from engaging effectively in daily life activities, be it school or carrying out their normal responsibilities, such as domestic, social, or otherwise during menstrual periods. With regards to school attendance, a significant number of girls have had to miss class and lose learning time, which has negatively affected their academic performance. Statistics obtained from the Women for Change indicate that on average, a girl is absent from school for 4 days in a month, which makes 13 days learning time lost in one term. In one academic year, therefore, a girl will lose about 39 school days, more than 13% of the total learning time allotted. In this scenario, Mr. Speaker, honorable members, can we really expect girls to perform to the same standard as their male counterparts who, all things being equal, enjoy 100% of the time allocated? Can girls in this situation, honorable members, be in a position to advance with their education to higher levels? The people of Chembe have an answer. It is an unequivocal no, simply meaning the girls cannot do it. Girls are clearly at a very huge disadvantage compared to their male counterparts, and this is for no reason of their own making. Neither is it because of any failure whatsoever on the part of their parents. They are where they are purely because of their biological makeup, over which they have absolutely no control, and without which fact none of us would exist. Is it therefore fair and just, honorable members, that the facilities that we, the policy makers, provide in our learning institutions should discriminate against girls? Again, Mr. Speaker, the answer is no. At least, I don't think so, and neither do the people of Chembe. And for us to sit here in this august house and do nothing about the situation is tantamount to perpetrating an injustice that will curtail the productive lives of our girl children and condemn them to all manner of injustices such as gender-based violence, sexual abuse, child marriages, and complete social exclusion. It is, therefore, a betrayal of the future mothers of our nation. Sir, the girl child, the people of Chembe, and all our rural and poor people are gravely concerned about our inaction. And with that they ask, is it not only morally right that we take affirmative action that will give equal opportunity for both boys and girls to advance in their education without interruptions from natural predispositions? Yes, we should, and indeed we must, because the amount of learning time lost by girls seriously undermine our efforts to achieve gender-inclusive development, all because of a natural condition to which we are, as a nation, able to respond. As policymakers, sir, we must make a difference. Mr. Speaker, while trying to avoid getting into details here, let me illustrate the seriousness of the problem that our girls in rural and poor areas experience when their time comes. In order to manage their menses in the absence of hygienically proven sanitary towels, some girls tend to rely on crude, improvised materials which are, in most cases, unhygienic, ineffective, uncomfortable, hence posing serious risks to their health. To illustrate how desperate the situation is in Zambia, especially in rural areas, let me make reference to a research on menstrual health management that was conducted in Western Province by the Mavoshe Memorial Center. This research, Mr. Speaker, was only undertaken this year, 2019. And it revealed that many school girls in Western Province lack access to menstrual sanitary products and facilities such as water, toilets, and changing rooms that would allow them to manage their menses in a more hygienic and dignified manner. Further, it was reported that staffing and other unhygienic ways that could even be health-threatening or in a bid to manage their menses are used during the time. This situation is, however, honorable members, not only unique to Western Province, it is a common phenomenon for many girls around our country, especially in rural and poor areas. Honorable members, despite the dangers these girls have no choice but to do this, otherwise, the impact of failure to effectively manage their situation weighs heavily on a girl's emotions, privacy, integrity, and self-esteem. Sir, I am sad to alert this House that in extreme cases, some girls have committed suicide as a result of being shamed by their friends when they are on their menstrual periods. For example, on 11th September 2019, only 3 weeks ago today, the British Broadcasting Corporation, BBC, reported that in Kenya, a 14-year-old girl hanged herself after being shamed by the school teacher and her friends for staining her uniform during menses. Now, maybe let me repeat this. The British Broadcasting Corporation reported 3 weeks ago that a 14-year-old girl in Kenya hung herself after she was shamed by the teacher and her friends for soiling her uniform during her menses. Surely, should we wait until we lose young lives because of a challenge to which the solution is within our hands? Remember, honorable members, that Kenyan girl could have been your niece. She could have been your granddaughter. Or God forbid, your own daughter. Yes, she could as well have been your daughter or your relation. A big lesson here, Mr. Speaker. Our young girls are fragile. They deserve to be treated with care and dignity. It is our duty in this house, therefore, not only to speak for them, but to protect them, make their lives better today, and create a path for them into their future. Therefore, we must find a solution that adequately addresses the problem and contributes to a progressive Zambia that promotes girl-child education. And, Mr. Speaker, I dare move that one of the immediate solutions that is solely in our hands now, and I mean right now, is for this government, the listening Patriotic Front government under the leadership of His Excellency Edgar Chagwa Lungu, to provide our young girls in rural and poor community schools with free sanitary towels. This will guarantee their uninterrupted education and a future full of promise, as they will become equal participants in the development process of our nation. Mr. Speaker, let me hasten to mention here that the challenge of inadequate sanitary amenities is not exclusive to Zambia. According to UNICEF, 1 out of 10 girls in African schools skip or drop out of school completely due to lack of menstrual products and poor access to proper sanitation. Numerous research projects have been conducted and have shown negative effects that non-supply or inadequate supply of menstrual sanitary products have on female education achievement. The University of Oxford conducted such a research between 2008 and 2009 in schools across Ghana, in remote rural areas, urban inner city schools, and peri-urban areas. The research found that girls attending schools in several inner city schools and remote areas reported that they stay home during their entire length of menstrual periods due to fear of the embarrassment associated with soiling themselves during their menses. The study also found that girls who were supplied with sanitary pads recorded increased school attendance, ability to concentrate in school, higher confidence levels, and increased participation in a range of other school activities. The study noted, however, that while this intervention may not necessarily address many negative entrenched attitudes towards girl-child education on our continent, it might nevertheless have significant impact in the short term on educational achievements of the girl child and positively impact other related negative outcomes such as early pregnancies, early marriages, child trafficking, and so on. Again in Ghana, a study undertaken by the Menstrual Health Management by Water Aid revealed that about 95% of girls in rural areas do not attend school during menses. As a result, the Coalition on Menstrual Hygiene petitioned the government to consider incorporating the supply of free sanitary towels into the senior high school policy, and this was done. In an article published by the Global Citizen, a Kenyan movement involved in extending extreme poverty it was reported that 1 million girls are forced to miss school due to lack of access to menstrual hygiene products. To address this challenge, the government of Kenya enacted legislation to ensure that free sanitary towels are provided to girls in schools. In South Africa, a study undertaken by Stellenbosch University Law Clinic found that about 30% of girls in South Africa do not attend school during their menstrual periods. Like Kenya, the government of the Republic of South Africa reacted proactively by annually allocating resources in the national budget to provide sanitary towels to low-income communities. In addition, value-added tax on menstrual products was removed in order to make them more affordable for the female citizen. Other countries that have taken action to address the challenge of school absenteeism by girls as a result of menstruation include Botswana and Namibia. In Botswana, a law was enacted to provide free sanitary towels to all schools. In Namibia, the government launched a project in 2017 to provide free sanitary towels to 5,000 girls from low-income communities every month. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, several other African countries have taken similar steps to enhance the quality of education by promoting good hygiene and sanitation. Zambia should emulate these efforts to ensure that a girl child is empowered and protected. Our failure to address this challenge has grave repercussions, not only on the education sector, but on other socio-economic development sectors. I will endeavor, briefly, to highlight some of the repercussions that the inaction brings on this subject. Sir, non-intervention has numerous consequences on our country's development. One, it will impede economic growth because it will lead to limited supply of skilled and productive labor required for various socio-economic activities. Two, it will widen gender inequality levels and lower standards of living. When girls are not educated, they tend to have low aspiration levels and engage in low-paying jobs such as domestic work, restaurant service, and farm work, or worse still, prostitution. These jobs tend to make them feel marginalized and inferior to men. Three, it increases the levels of poverty in society, as in developing countries, women play a critical role in taking care of families and tend to be breadwinners. However, if they do not attend the required education for them to earn enough income, they are unable to take good care of their families. Finally, sir, inaction will undermine the progress that has so far been made in achieving gender equality through the implementation of various policies and legislation, as earlier alluded to. Further, Mr. Speaker, if the government does not respond favorably to girls' menstrual challenges, Zambia risks not achieving the following sustainable development goals. One, goal number 3, which is aimed at ensuring healthy lives and promoting well-being for all ages. Goal number 4, which is aimed at ensuring inclusive and quality education for all and promote lifelong learning. Goal number 5, which seeks to achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. Goal number 6, which is aimed at ensuring availability and sustainability of water and sanitation for all. And goal number 8, which is aimed at promoting sustained, inclusive, and sustainable economic growth, full productive employment, and decent work for all. Given the above developmental implications arising from girls skipping out of school due to lack of sanitary materials, there is need for us, as legislators and representatives of the people we swore to serve, to urge the government to put in place measures that will effectively address the challenge. I propose, Mr. Speaker, that the following measures, among others, need to be undertaken. 1, amendment of the Education Act, like they did in Kenya, in order to, 1, provide for free, sufficient, and quality sanitary towels to every girl child registered and enrolled in a public, government-aided, or community educational institution in rural and poor areas who has reached puberty, and provide a safe and environmentally sound mechanism for disposal of the sanitary towels. 2, provide for the employment or secondment from the Ministry of Health of qualified female health professionals in both medical issues and psychosocial counseling to public, government-aided, or community educational institutions in rural areas where we have girl children. 3, provide for availability in the national budget of sufficient funds for the acquisition of sufficient and quality sanitary towels to every girl child registered in a public institution. Secondly, removal of the 5% customs duty and value-added tax currently charged on menstrual products in order to make them more affordable for the female citizenry. I am very sure that the consequent revenue loss will not rob the treasury. 3, provision of tax incentives to any investor wishing to manufacture sanitary products in Zambia so as to encourage investment in this area and help lower the cost of the final product to the women folk. 4, engagement in the immediate future, engagement of our cooperating partners, international NGOs, churches, and civil society organizations to support this initiative with sufficient resources to ensure program success. I am confident that these organizations will respond positively, this not being only a developmental cause, but also a humanitarian one. Mr. Speaker, I am aware that in response to my call in my maiden speech, as acknowledged by then Minister of Finance, Honorable Felix Mutati, in his budget address to this House on Friday, 11th November 2016, government in the budget of 2017 allocated resources to provide free sanitary pads for 14,000 pupils in 16 districts. The same was also provided for both in the 2018 and 2019 national budgets. Sadly, sir, according to the information available, no funds have ever been released towards the sanitary pads program. We have slackened on our commitment made in 2016. Hence this motion, which should serve as a reminder to the government to fund this important imperative. Further, government must go beyond providing free sanitary towels by also ensuring that schools are gender-friendly. School infrastructure must be appropriate to allow girls to adequately and hygienically manage their menses. In every school, there must be provision for privacy, running water, soap, space for washing hands and clothes, as well as places for changing and disposing of materials used for managing menstruation. This will ensure that fundamental human rights to education, privacy, and dignity of a girl child are protected. Mr. Speaker, we are aware that several not-for-profit organizations such as Maboshe Memorial Center, Women for Change, AfriPads, COSO, and many others have taken a step to address the problem by procuring and distributing sanitary towels to vulnerable pupils in schools, especially in rural areas. I wish to salute these organizations for the practical steps they have taken in addressing this real-life situation. As Member of Parliament for Chembe, following my maiden speech, I, with a few colleagues, set up the Build Chembe Foundation, which is embarking on the distribution of free sanitary pads in schools all around the country, resources permitting. Let me take this opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to acknowledge and thank the First Lady of the Republic of Zambia, Mrs. Esther Lungu, for the support and encouragement she has rendered to me and the Girl Child Education Support Program that we are implementing under the Foundation. Let me also render my sincere thanks and appreciation to the former First Ladies, all of them that are living, Mrs. Vera Chiruba, Dr. Maureen Mwanawasa, Mrs. Tandiwe Banda, and Dr. Christine Kaseva, for all the support they have given through their personal involvement in our programs and events. Having said that, let me hasten to add that all these private efforts are not enough. The task is simply too heavy and calls for the contribution of our entire society. It calls for the private sector, the civil society, the church, the donor community, and all women and men of goodwill interested in seeing progressive Zambia in which gender equality is in practice rather than only in rhetoric, to come forth and make their contribution. The time to stand up and be counted is now. As I conclude, Mr. Speaker, allow me to emphasize that by moving this motion, which obviously has financial implications, it is not my intention to bankrupt our already challenged Treasury, as the President clearly explained in his official opening address to the fourth session of the 12th National Assembly on Friday, September 13th. Not at all. Our able Minister of Finance, in his budget address last Friday, also acknowledged the challenges that we face in this area. While acknowledging these challenges, I must reiterate, however, the fact that educating a girl child has consequential improvements and benefits in societal productivity, thereby breaking the cycle of extreme poverty. We should never, ever, never at any one point at all think that investing in girl child education by improving sanitary conditions in schools is a waste of resources at a time when we're implementing austerity measures. I repeat, we should never, ever, never at any one point at all think that investing in girl child education by improving sanitary conditions in schools is a waste of resources at a time when we're implementing austerity measures. No, sir, not at all. Hence, my proposition, Mr. Speaker, honorable members, is a win-win strategy that promotes access to education, economic prosperity, efficiency, and the achievement of other critical human development goals, which in the long term will drive us out of perpetual austerity. I therefore, sir, appeal to the government and all honorable members of this august House to come forth from both your right and your left in a multi-partisan spirit and fashion to support this motion, which is non-controversial and is in the interest of our girls, our people, and indeed our country. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move.